Please welcome Brad Learmonth.
Thank you. Hi. Ooh, it's so weird to be back here in person. I feel like I've got one foot on the boat and one foot on the dock. And that's how I have felt for the last month or so, venturing back into public space. And my footing is getting stronger, but I also got COVID in the process about 6 weeks ago. So I got that out of the way. That wasn't too bad. Thank you for having me back. And thank you, Kim, for always your great opening prayer. It always lends itself to what I'm either thinking or going to say. And I love that last line because it's somewhere in here in different language. But the title of my talk today is Unity, the Myth of Separation. And I've been sitting with this word unity. In the words of Ernest Holmes, that each creation is rooted in the one creative soil, and each is individualizing out of this created soil that which is unique. And for the longest time, the past several weeks, I've been staring at this word, trying to write something. And quite frankly, there was part of me that wanted to call in sick. Drop the subject, throw up my hands and say, who are we kidding? When I look at the world right now, and there was another shooting in Philadelphia last night, I just want to hold all of those people that are suffering from these last several weeks in that regard alone in prayer as I go through this. But when I look at the events in the world, and especially in the last few weeks, who could blame anyone for giving up on the idea of unity? Even the idea of looking at it in spiritual terms seems futile to me. We have, after all, been gathering in spiritual and religious spaces for millennia to express God's plan, however God is expressed. And you so beautifully illuminated that. Our oneness with spirit and each other. But then what? We go back into separation. And we go back into a world that seeks to keep us in separation, to hold on to some paradigm that has held us for all too long. Hello on Zoom, by the way. I'm sorry, in that little box. I don't know how many of you are there, but hello. It does seem now that more than ever, Spirit is calling us to unite. That's the good part. And yet it also seems more than ever that the forces are pushing hardest against it. But then I keep going back to this innate sense I have of connecting to the whole and to the continual refinement of how I, as one single human being, can extend a sense of unity first within myself and then outwardly to others. If I try to tackle the whole world, it is a sure way to fall into despair. My yoga teacher gave me a hook last week when I was thinking about this talk. She brought up the notion of belonging. Belonging as an essential need we all have, and how many of us are struggling with that these days. There are so many challenges and so many obstacles to feeling a sense of place, a sense of belonging, even just in physical space, as I said at the beginning. And that individual existential struggle we've all been experiencing these past few years on top of that. It has all just added to the pain and suffering we feel in a world that in many regards has kind of gone crazy. So if we can cultivate a sense of belonging within ourselves and then extend that to others who may be struggling with it, perhaps we can regain at least some sense of our footing, some sense of our connection to the unity of all things. I've been trying to put it into context. And I always go big and then come in. I always find it instructive to view what we are experiencing by looking at a bigger picture. How did it happen? And what has been made manifest as a result? We in the Western world, and I only use that example because it's the one that's common to our experience, but everyone across the globe does it in their own way. We humans have devised systems and structures of separation that have had significant consequences that one could say is finally turning its back on us. This has all been a setup of thousands of years. We've separated ourselves over and over again from, as Howard Thurman put it, a unity that binds all living things into a single whole. We've separated ourselves from nature, to justify our domination and using of it. We've separated men from women. We've creating a patriarchal system. We've separated the masculine from feminine natures from all of us. Even Ernest Holmes does this. He refers always to man, to he, to him, to his. He's part of that paradigm. We are all part of that paradigm. We've drawn boundaries to separate our tribes, our nations, our continents. We've been acculturated through hundreds and hundreds of years of violent conquest and domination that separated people and their beliefs into hierarchical categories where a group is at the top and then all others cascade down lower to lower rungs on the ladder, not based in anything but the devising of the dominant group. We've manipulated the very spiritual traditions that have imparted the idea of oneness, of love and hospitality and charity into religions and dogma that support the separation from material gain, all in order to elevate one over the other, all in order to hoard the riches of the world that we should be sharing. And by extension, we have participated in this, been complicit in this. It lives in our bones. We can't help it. It's gone on for generations and generations. No matter where you stand on things, can any of us really deny that along with the amazing things that we've created, truly phenomenal things we've created, the wisdoms we've created, the traditions we've created, we have done it within a context that holds enormous divisions, destruction, and lack of unity in some very fundamental sense. And now the consequences of this are being thrown up to us in the starkest terms every day. It's happening across the globe. I've spoken before of us being at a crossroads, an inflection point. That word's getting a lot of mileage since our new president got elected, but he's right, we're at an inflection point. And that becomes more and more spotlighted every day. We know more than ever, have access to information, history, understandings of the world and of humankind through both science and wisdom and understandings of the world of humankind, spiritual traditions like never before. We are learning that these disciplines, rather than being separate from each other, benefit from being unified. And many people are trying to unify science with wisdom traditions and ancient traditions that people have known for thousands of years. And somehow we find it nearly impossible, but we know that we have the potential for the greatest genius and the greatest humanity for each other. We also have the greatest ability to inflict terror on each other and on ourselves. And somehow we find it nearly impossible to move beyond that, to correct it. We do it in increments and only sometimes. And it's so incremental that it's losing the race against destruction. It is so easy to throw up our hands in despair and say, what can I do? I am but one person. Or to point the finger and say it's them, not me. Or to feel the despair of knowing that vast majorities of Americans want one thing that is about to be undone or can't get another thing to be done at all. And you all know what I'm talking about. Why is that? Why can we not change that? So what I've been drilling down on these last months and years, refining again and again as I continue to unravel my own resistances to unity, is what can I do within myself and extend it to others, to the world? What must I give up? And I mean really give up. And what am I willing to give up to shift that which has gone on for so long, held me captive to separation? What are you willing to give up to reach that goal? It is a deep, deep journey, the one that I think is now essential. How can I sit with anyone in this room or on Zoom, no matter what we believe, agree on, or share in any other way, and truly, truly see them, truly listen to them, truly create a space of respect and love and hospitality that allows us to be in unity. Maybe not as friends, but as neighbors, as fellow humans. How can I cultivate that sense of belonging in myself and offer it as a gift to anyone I encounter by honoring their belonging? I want to share two short stories to illuminate what I'm trying to get at. There was a recent incident where I got called out for something by an elder in a meeting, elder than me even. What it was about was not important, but it hurt me and I immediately reacted. I went into defense mode. She pushed back. Then a little voice went off inside of me that said, shut up and listen. Just take it and listen. See what happens. She is feeling real pain and you're filtering it through your personal stuff that has nothing to do with it. Trying to defend and justify something you said so that you don't have to feel bad. It doesn't matter what you think she said and why. What matters is that she's really hurting. This person is really hurting and all you can think of to do is to fight back. She's even telling you that it's not personal and you still want to fight back. You want to make sure your point is taken, your voice is heard, that you are not misunderstood like you were when you were a child. Has nothing to do with her. That is not important right now. Just listen, join with her pain and just take it in. Do not walk away. So that's what I did. And it had my insides roiling, but I did it. And I sat with it for the better part of a week, trying to really understand what I was feeling. But as importantly, if not more, what she was feeling. And that was taking it a step beyond what I normally do, what probably most of us normally do. We make excuses, oh, I was in a bad mood, I went off, I'm sorry. We have to go deeper. We have to go deeper than we've ever known to go before. It wasn't about what was right or wrong, what may or may have been misconstrued by her or me or not. It was about honoring another and perhaps learning something profound about myself. And I took a step in that direction. In another incident, I met with a friend recently, a colleague, who was engaged in an intentional workshop that puts two people coming from opposing viewpoints together to come to some sense of understanding and unity. Now, mind you, I'm talking about two highly skilled therapists and spiritual practitioners, leaders in their field, who are also close friends to each other. They spent an hour arguing. And then they looked at each other and they laughed and they hugged. They realized that no matter how hard they tried, they could not give up their desire to be heard, to have their viewpoint pressed upon the other. They could not listen. They love each other as friends, but they represent viewpoints that have driven people to absolute hatred and separation in this current day and age. In the end, they realized an important lesson. They realized, number one, what they had done. They realized that the path to unity is fraught. And they realized that we're all holding on to ground and we're not listening to each other. They embraced, took the lesson with them, and we'll meet again another day to see how much closer they can come together. Maybe we are trying to hold onto our ground so tightly because we feel it shift like an earthquake beneath us. Maybe our sense of belonging has been so rattled that we are grasping for words, grasping for purchase on anything that can make us feel steady. And isn't this exactly how the drowning person ends up drowning both themselves and their lifesaver? Just stop and take it in. There are those among us that feed on this human condition of separation and fear and use it to their ends of gaining power and position. You know what I'm talking about. We're mired in it every single day. One could easily argue our country and our world are on the precipice of horrible destruction because of it. And this is not new. People have been doing this and devising these things forever for power and access and riches. But as I've said before and do believe, we are at a crossroads now. Look at what's happening in the world and the potential for huge, huge destruction. And yet we continue, many of us, to gather in places, call on our better angels, remind ourselves of centuries of spiritual and other wisdom traditions that understand what each of us ultimately understands, that we are one, that we are all of the one. We are the drop of water in the vast ocean that is made up of the same stuff as the ocean is, and that's what unifies us. We know deep inside of us that we are all connected. We are all of the same as essence and an individual expression of that essence. But we continue to fall into the trap of separation. We continue to think we are better than. Deserve more, come from a better culture, class, race, ethnicity, sex, etc., etc., etc. No matter how much we are shown this is not the case, no matter how much we mouth the words and even believe this on some level, we dare not give anything up to effect real change, or we dare only give up just enough to make us feel a little better about how we move in the world. But it's the sum total is little is changing, and when push comes to shove, well, most of us dig our heels in. We say things like, change takes time, just be patient, blah, blah, blah. But the time for that, I would argue, is over. It's time to go deeper. It's time to do more. I've been grappling for a while now with how I can affect change from within and within my encounters. How can I achieve unity in chaos? How do I approach those I encounter and see them? Really see them. Honor their being and their expression of existence to the degree that at least allows me to listen and see beyond myself to find protection and place. What I've come up with, okay, I missed something. What I've come up with is to stay close to home, to self, to focus on fixing just what is at hand. Native American elder said, his name is Leonard Peltier, I don't know how to save the world. I don't have the answers. I don't have the answer. I hold no secret knowledge as to fix the mistakes of generations past and present. I only know that without compassion and respect for all of the earth's inhabitants, none of us will survive, nor will we deserve to. We have a lot of work to do. None of us will be here when and if it happens. But what we can contribute to contribute to the continuum of its purpose. We can contribute to the unity of all life. What can we contribute to that? As Ernest Holmes said, to learn this is to know a secret of the ages. Thank you.